So, last month, I put up a video called How to Make Anyone Believe Anything, where I talked about the brain having special triggers that overcome our logical thinking at certain times, specifically when it's key to us mating and surviving, and which can even overwrite our whole personality. Now, I don't talk about left or right politics on this channel, and I won't here, but a popular political YouTuber, Lacey Green, is making a lot of news recently because she's completely reversed her entire political worldview because she has a new boyfriend. Of course, this sounds crazy, and people are throwing out lots of explanations like love is blind, which are ways we try to dismiss things that don't make sense. But of course, that answers nothing. However, we can answer it with what we talked about here, because this relates directly to the How to Make Anyone Believe Anything video. Since after all, in that video I said this.
This can happen to every one of us. Facts don't matter. Character doesn't matter. Every human brain has the power to overwrite its entire personality if it needs to.
Now there, I used an example of a terrorist being broken in interrogation by sugar-free cookies, showing how seemingly silly things can have a huge effect on someone's personality if they hit this trigger in the person's mind the right way. And that's exactly what seems to have happened with Lacey Green. Now, this did come at the end of a longer process for her, but I want to focus on the key role the relationship played. So let's break it down. In the video, we described 5 basic triggers in our brains that overrule its rational thinking. Based on a glance, I can tell immediately that this was probably a case of consequences, understanding, and esteem. First of all, people's political beliefs are usually linked to their family and friends.
I'm voting for Dukakis.
So the only interactions they have with people who disagree are angry ones. This means that we start to see people on the other side as bad people, which triggers us to fight their point of view no matter whether their position is logical or not. In this case, obviously, Lacey Green connected with a guy who happened to hold the other point of view, and he was her sugar-free cookie. Her brain no longer believed that accepting the idea would help bad people, and in fact, she saw that it would help a good person and help her connect with him. After that, they ended up talking a lot, and she got a complete look at the opposite point of view. Again, this isn't about whether Democrats or Republicans are right, but just that we don't really listen to each other. However, in this case, she obviously did, since she started repeating the other point of view herself.
Feminist scholars who appear to be cannibalizing themselves as usual.
And there's one more thing, which is that her brain's esteem need basically flipped over. We protect our esteem, our reputation, because it helps our chances of mating. But if you're in an environment where you don't have any potential mates, and one shows up on the other side, you then need to be accepted by that side. So the need to agree with your old team disappears, and you can end up laughing at their point of view while now defending the opinion of your new mate.
I've recently found anti-SJW channels that are well-cited and reasoned, make some interesting points.
So human behavior can often seem strange and silly. But these are actually very powerful triggers that evolved into our brains a long time ago, and which are there for very real reasons. I'll link to the previous video where we talked about this in more detail and how it can be used for good or evil. But either way, if you liked this vid, share it and subscribe for more. Thanks.